Welcome to the Nourish Spot Hour on Caribbean Buzz Radio. I am Dawn Kelly, and I am happy to be with you today. We have some exciting guests, female entrepreneurs, continuing in our tradition for these last couple of episodes. To my left, I have Sharnae Jenkins, writer, director, producer, and she'll tell you more later. And on my right, I have Jessica Johnson, CEO of Johnson Security. So tell me, I met you at the Small Business Administration event where the Nourish Spot was honored along with LaToya Smith, the Biz Chick Life, and we were honored as Businesses of the Year, and I met you there. So tell me about Johnson Security.
So Johnson Security is a third-generation family-owned and operated security guard services firm based in the Bronx, New York. My grandparents started the business 57 years ago, and I took over the reins about 10 years ago. And so we employ over 100 people, we service over a dozen clients, and we keep New York and the New York City area safe with a well-trained professional guard staff, as well as offering armored car services, CCTV, private security camera systems, and x-ray equipment.
Wow, that's hot. Let me tell you, so there's so much in there. Okay, so listen. I just started my business, as you know, the Nourish Spot. We're 18 months in. And listening to you talk about the legacy that your grandfather, grandparents established gives me much inspiration. So tell me what it's like being the granddaughter of somebody that had the courage to establish a business and what it was like to step into those shoes.
So it's amazing to have had people set the road ahead for me. We all can think of examples of people that demonstrated legacy to us, right? So it might have been your mom cooking in the kitchen and making sure that the family had something healthy to eat. It might have been an educator or a family member who taught and read to you and helped develop your learning, your knowledge of writing and your love for the written words. So for me, I had the benefit of growing up around both of my grandmothers. One was from Florida, and the other was from North Carolina. And all four of my grandparents moved up to New York for better opportunities. And opportunities look like different things to them. So for my paternal grandparents, they saw business as a way to develop opportunities to provide more for their children and to create a better life for people in their community. And so having watched my grandmother as I grew up and watched her be professional, watched her pour into people, watched her to create jobs and make a difference in our community, she lit a fire in me to make me want to make a difference. So a little over 10 years ago, my father was diagnosed with cancer, and we didn't know what was going to happen to the business, and my brother and I decided we were going to stick it out and give the business a chance. And so we left our respective professional pursuits and jumped into Johnson Security and did the Heimlich maneuver and got the heart back beating strong. And now it is here almost 10 years later, and we're still here. We have challenges, but every day we wake up and we thank the Lord that we're blessed to be entrepreneurs, right? Because everybody can't be an entrepreneur.
That's the truth. That is
hard.
True. It is.
Yeah,
it's challenging every single day.
But it's so fruitful. There's so many blessings in being an entrepreneur. So it's something I don't take lightly.
Okay. So you took me right into a question that I had. What are some of the challenges that you faced when you decided 10 years ago to jump in?
So the biggest challenge when I made the decision was I was working for a pharmaceutical company. I had a nice salary, awesome benefits, a company car, and I was living the life. Like I used to go on vacation twice a year. You can tell me nothing. Fast forward, as an entrepreneur, I have to make different sacrifices. And so where I was looking at somebody else to get my salary, I now determine what my salary is based on the business that I bring in. At the same time, because I have employees, my employees are my priority. So I gotta make sure that I get them paid before I can go, put more money in the bank or go off on vacation. Even something as small as, it's the summertime, many of my employees want to be off to be with their children. So do I take vacation now and just say, you're on your own, or do I wait and make sure that everybody gets the time that they need to be with their families, and then when it's appropriate, I get the rest time for myself. So it's taught me to be a lot less selfish, in being an entrepreneur, but it's been a very interesting and worthwhile challenges. It's helped me build my entrepreneurial muscle, I'll say that.
Well, that's good. And then I have another question in listening to you. One is, tell the people that are listening or watching, how do they get in touch with you? Should they want to hire your company for your services? Should there be some people out there that are interested in a career in security, right? Tell the people how to get in touch with you.
So if you're looking for us, you can find Johnson Security Bureau on the web at www.johnson, JOHNSON, security, SECURITY, Bureau, BUREAU.com, or you can look at us on Twitter at JSB Inc. And we also have an Instagram account, which we're doing a tremendous job of trying to showcase and highlight some of our professional team members and some of the work that we do. In a field like security, some of our clients like to maintain a certain level of confidentiality because they don't want to know what don't want outsiders to know what their security programs are. And we're blessed to work with some of the greatest corporations in the world. But you can go to our Instagram and see some of the fun things that we do.
And then one more question before we, go over and talk to Sharnae and ask her some questions. Can you give us like one exciting event that your company covered, or one exciting person that your company covered?
So when it comes to executive security, many of our clients like to keep that very private. But one of the things that we got to do is for Super Bowl 48, when the MetLife Stadium hosted the Super Bowl, our team was part of the security team.
Oh, that's nice.
Now, granted, there were hundreds of security professionals that were involved, but our team got to be in the end zone at the end of the game. So anybody that knows football, like the field, that's it. And so, not even for myself, but for people that go to work every day, for them to have one opportunity to be on one of the biggest stages in the world and say, I did that, I was there, that's always one of the highlights that I think of when I think of my 10 years that I've been leading Johnson Security.
And then one more thing. So when I think of security, right, I don't think of women. So what is it like in those rooms when you're bidding for work, or you're walking into a Super Bowl 48 and there's a million other security firms and most of the people are wearing pants and they don't have a bun? Or maybe they might have a man bun. But anyway, what is it like?
So
maybe one of the only women in this business.
I always say that I'm one of the only persons that does what I do in 6-inch heels. So I had one example where I went to a site visit at the Statue of Liberty in Silly Me, got on the ferry, didn't have any sneakers because I didn't think that'd be appropriate, and I literally walked from the Statue of Liberty, got on a boat, we went to Ellis Island, got on a boat, we went to Liberty State Park, and I did it all in some 6-inch heels.
Wow.
I won't do it again. But
that cobblestone street, I know your ankles are killing you.
It's beautiful in that I stand out, right?
Yes.
Because I say, I'm sitting at a table full of men in Joseph A. Banks suits, and that conveys a certain something.
Nice.
So I stand out. But I also have been, the women in my family have poured into me a level of confidence to help me to know that I belong at any table at which I sit. So even if I'm not wearing a suit, even if I'm the only one with bun and a pair of diamonds on and the only one wearing high heel shoes, I belong at that table. And so I have a confidence that it makes me not care that I look differently, that I may sound differently. And ultimately what I found is when I'm with my professional peers that operate in the same space, it's all about the relationship.
Oh, there you go.
And so ultimately they don't care, right? They say, oh, Jessica, we're at a meeting earlier in the week. They said, Jessica, we're so glad to have you around because you bring a level of class that we don't have.
Pull my chain. You pull stroke.
That and a couple of other things, right? But what he was really saying is, we feel comfortable with you because you're our friend. And so it doesn't matter.
And people are out to do more business with you when you are friendly.
Exactly. I'm going to teach a whole class on how to be nice in business so that you can.
That's right. And we're going to teach that together. So you know what? You gave me a perfect segue to Sharnae, because you talked about the stage that we're on, right? And And Sharnae, that's where you do your best work, right? Stages.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So Sharnae Jenkins, thank you so very
Oh,
much
thanks for having me. This is
joining
awesome.
the Nourish Spot Hour. I'm really fortunate, you guys, that I met Sharnae this past week when she and her crew, and I gotta give this guy a shout out, my friend Luke Stafford.
That's right.
You know, they descended on the Nourish Spot to do a little filming. The Nourish Spot is going to be in a little show. And I'm really, really pleased about that. So I want to say thank you publicly here.
I appreciate it.
And then I just want to find out about you. Tell me about this journey. Tell me, who is Sharnae Jenkins? How did you decide that writing was your passion and your forte and it was going to push you forward?
Well, first, let me say thank you because I love the way the shop, the Nourish Spot, looks so good.
Thank you.
I was excited that that's our main character. That's where she works.
Thank you.
So that's a good thing.
Yes!
That's awesome. Right?
Yes!
So just yes. Great. It's the whole vibe. Like that's just my thing.
Thank you.
I literally been writing since I was in 3rd grade, but I didn't know that I was a writer.
Okay.
So literally at home, I mean, my mom is amazing and she saved my journals from 3rd grade.
Wow.
And in my journals, there are plays in there, but I didn't know they were plays.
Wow.
So it's amazing when you look back and you read it, I was
Yes.
like, this is an actual play. My entire journal are plays,
Okay.
or I'm writing editorials about things that happened in the classroom, but I didn't know.
She writing stories about little Johnny.
Yeah,
He
no,
kicked her today.
you know, like the turtle passed away and the class was devastated. Like I have these editorials in my book. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I was
Right.
just doing it.
Right.
And I went to school, every school, elementary school, middle school, and high school for the performing arts. But
Okay.
I was studying opera actually. So
Oh.
I did opera and
So you're an opera singer?
I'm retired, but yeah.
Uh-oh, she about to kick us a note.
So I really, I was a music theater student, so I did music theater and I studied opera. And I studied jazz. So that was my thing, but I was still writing. And how I started to really do it seriously was born and raised in Harlem.
Okay.
And-
Me too.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was on the 2 train, I was catching 2 train, I'm on 35th, and there were this group of young teenage girls, and the conversation they were having was so inappropriate and so embarrassing, and my heart was breaking because people were listening to them. And after a while, about 10 minutes in, I said to them, ladies, I can't tell you what to talk about, but you need to keep it private, you need to keep it classy. And I was going
We're
on,
lucky to meet you.
because I couldn't take it, and I saw how people were looking at them.
Right.
And I decided that I was actually going on a trip to Jamaica like 3 days after that. So I sat on the beach with my best friend for like 8 hours, and I literally came up with this idea of this play called Sleeping Generation. And I just came home and I wrote it. And I had no idea what I was doing.
Wow.
It was like a big giant college thesis or some madness. And at the time, a friend of mine who was my mentor, Reggie Byford, who's an amazing writer.
Yeah,
Reggie,
he has films, right?
oh yeah. Reggie was my mentor, like big time. So after he laughed at me for like 5 minutes, he was like, okay, good story, but this is not the structure.
Okay.
And so he told me what to do. He showed me the structure. And so that was amazing. And at the time, I went to college to be a social worker, and then I wrote my first play, and I just said, okay, I'm going to social work through my plays. So I just started writing. That was the very first play that I did, and I kept going, and I kept going. And once I moved to Long Island, beautiful place, but sports isn't everything. And I realized there was no theater, okay? And then there was this weird thing about if you're from one town, the kids don't like kids from another town, and I just didn't get it. So what I did was I said, I'm bringing everybody from every town together. And I just found teenagers who've never done theater before, and I just started doing theater out of my home. I just asked my family, they'd be okay with it, they'd bear with me, and I just wrote plays for teenagers about real issues that they're going through. You know, abstinence, or if you are having sex, or if you have found out that you're pregnant, or if you are being bullied. Anything that they wanted to talk about that they could, I had this thing I would do with teenagers called In a Perfect World. You could say what you wanted to say with no repercussions. What would you say?
Okay.
And after we had this amazing group discussion, I just kept writing them. and writing, and then I had like 20 plus kids like in my place. And I'm picking people up, I'm dropping them home, I'm picking them up, I'm feeding them, and we're just doing this work, and I'm just doing it out of my pocket. But it was worth it because
You're changing lives.
it's like now to this day is just, I probably have about 50 kids that aren't my kids, if not more.
And you're nourishing them too.
Hey,
right? If you really think about it, you're actually nourishing the lives of these young people. You're changing the paradigm for them because probably many of them may not have chosen theater had you not shared it with them.
I believe that. I know that a few years back I opened my mail and I had a postcard flyer and an invitation with a ticket. And it was from a young lady who did theater with me when she was a senior in high school, at Hempstead High School. She's a grown woman now. I had not seen her in years. And she said, "You have to come. Because of you is why I do this."
Wow.
Like her church built her a stage. So she could do her play. So when I went, you know, it was incredible because she's just hugging me like, "You're here, you're here." And that's
you inspire
crazy
her.
to me.
And listen, I think for me, I think that's why we all do pretty much what we do, right? It's not just the profit that we make,
Absolutely.
right? And it's not just the accolades that we get. It's the lives that we impact and we change is the reason why we do the things that we do.
Every day, all day. But in addition to doing that, then I was still writing films or television ideas and series and just write and have them. Because I'm that person. Someone comes to me, "Hey, I have this idea." I'm like, "Okay, what are we talking about?" And you know, or I'll just write my stuff and I'll just have it because that's just my thing. I have to write all the time. And then as you get going, it's like, okay, so you write this film and you try to get it going. But then it's awesome when you meet people along the way that see the vision and appreciate your talent and say, "Hey, let's make magic together," like Luke. You know, it's one of those, let's do this. So the challenge for me is when I write something that is not in the realm that I'm used to doing, because again, I'm talking from 2000 until 2000, and I don't even know when I stopped. Basically, when everybody graduated high school and they went off to college, that's when I started this new production. But for that amount of time, it was teenagers all day. I was doing things with adults, but it was all about them. I mean, we ran this play called The Hallway, which is about bullying and the effects of bullying. And the entire play takes place in a high school hallway.
And let me ask you a question now. You said that you give the plays. Where are they actually shown? What theaters? What, you know? Because I'm thinking, just before you answer that question, I'm thinking like the hallway. There's places for that right now. Like you could be taking that to the Department of Education.
Well, here's the thing. We ran the hallway for 4 years in various schools. Now the youth division of the NAACP, they had us at their youth convention for 3 years straight. For this play. And some of the kids would come back just for the play. So we've been at libraries and schools and things like that. It's really easier for me to get into schools on Long Island. Some of my friends are principals there, so they have me come in. Because in addition to that, I also do this thing. I do an event in anti-bullying assembly. So I come in with my actors and we do skits. And then we get the students involved, and it's this whole thing, and they get to give us suggestions on what they want to see, and sometimes the suggestions are like, whoa. But what I tell the teachers and the administrators are, pay attention. Pay attention.
That's what the kids are dealing with.
This one boy said, "Can you do a skit about a young man who wants to go to college, but he's poor and he lives in the hood, and he has no way out?" I mean, we were just like, okay, we're gonna do this skit. And sometimes I tell, you have to be prepared. It has to be harsh. I'm not about the fluff because you're not going to find out.
And you're not going to learn.
You're not going to learn.
You're not going to change anything either.
We did the hallway for a group of kids out of a church in Queens, and this 10-year-old girl, you know, at the end, everyone's giving. It's always about the feedback. So we leave 20 minutes for Q&A, and she was like, "I'm just like her. I'm just like that character. I like her." But it was the bully, and her mother literally started crying, and she's like, "I had no idea my daughter was a bully." I mean, it's amazing.
That's powerful.
Yes,
that's powerful.
I just, you know.
So now let me ask you, what's going on now? What's on the horizon? What are you working on?
Fun. Okay, so the one thing I'm working on, Luke and I are working on a series. made for TV, or we're not sure exactly what realm we're gonna go in, but we're working on that series, and it's really awesome. I love it. I can't say too much yet.
Okay.
Give away the surprise, but that's really great.
Okay.
My play that I have is called, so I have a production that I've actually been doing for a couple of years, but on and off. So
Okay.
we did like a little college tour with it. We went to a couple of colleges, and then we ran it at a theater on 54th and Broadway a couple of times. And it's just so hard to get people in the seats.
So what's the name of
It's
it?
called Like Me, Love Me, Love
Is this
You.
it?
Yeah.
Look, this is it right here.
Yes,
See
yes, yes,
everybody?
yes,
See?
It's
Okay.
called Like Me, Love Me, Love You,
Okay.
and it is dope. And I'm not just
Tell
saying
us
it
about
because
it.
I
Tell
wrote
us
it.
about it.
So basically, it is a play in simple terms about loving yourself before you can love anyone else. That's the first premise. But then it focuses on all types of friendships. So it's about friendships, because the one thing that I've said to people, to parents, that you send your kids to school, or we become young adults and we go into the workplace, and what happens is people automatically assume that you get a friend, you play, then you talk, you tell secrets, you know how to be a friend. You absolutely don't know how to be a friend. That is something you have to learn how to do. I taught my children how to be friends,
Right.
and subsequently they didn't get that back. So it became, well, this is devastating, because how come everyone else doesn't know how? It's a lesson for everything.
That's
You can't
true.
take it for granted. That is self-taught, because what if the wrong person's teaching them?
That's true.
So basically, this play focuses on every type of friendship, from relationships, girlfriends, guys. Like, it's just about friendships, and it's 7 college students that are pretty much trying to find themselves and find their way. And every time you just see all of the individual stories and their collective stories, but it's like a really dope piece because it pulls you in. The one thing that I will say that isn't a secret is kind of like the specialty of this piece is that when I wrote it, I wrote it where the actors never leave the stage, because I want them to become a part of the backdrop. I want you to stay with their flow and see where they're at and what they're feeling.
That's
But
different.
although they become a part of the backdrop, you stay focused on what's happening to current, whoever the characters are that's speaking.
I want to see it. I love the
Yeah.
theater.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
I love the theater.
Yeah.
I would say that my mom, I gotta thank her publicly for actually cultivating
Yes.
that in me. And I would say probably my sister and brother too, but my first play, my mother took us to see The Wiz, right? And I remember coming out of that theater, saying,
Yes,
"Come on
yes.
in, he's on there, he's on there." And then after that, she took us to see like pretty much every play, Dream Girls,
Yes.
Corners Green, so many plays.
Yes.
And now as an adult, my children are grown now, but all through their lives, I took them to see plays, right? Because
Right.
that's what I was taught. And still now to this day,
Oh my gosh.
I'm always trying to grab a ticket. I just recently went to see Ain't Too Proud to
Oh,
Beg.
did you?
Oh,
Yes.
those boys,
Yes.
they do their
See
thing.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it is everything. Like, people need to know Broadway is like one of the best tickets you can get. It's $25, it's $30, and you're seeing some serious
Yes.
work. I mean, my mom took me to see everything. Arms and Short Impossible. God,
I saw that too, yes.
Pearly was one. Oh my gosh, when I saw Pearly with Melvin Moore, I was just done. Like, it was just everything for me. So I love musical theater, but I love dramatic theater, just anything that makes you think. So
Right.
anytime I write a piece, I want it to be about, I want you to have a conversation afterwards.
Okay.
And we have some good ones at the end of this play. Oh my goodness.
Now, tell the people
So,
two things.
yes.
Tell the people, one, those thespians out there that are looking
Yes.
for a home,
Yeah.
right? Tell them how to reach you, right?
Absolutely.
Number two, tell people where they can get tickets and how they can get to see Like Me, Love You, Like Me, Love Me, Love You.
Yes. Okay, so for Like Me, Love Me, Love You, we're going to be at Shetler's Studios on 54th Street between Broadway and 8th Avenue. It's a really cool 60-seat black box theater. We encourage
What
people.
days?
And Thursday, look at the paper, my memory. Thursday the 27th is a 7 o'clock show. Friday the 28th is a 7 p.m. show. And Saturday the 29th is a 3 p.m. and a 7 p.m. show. And it's a really cool space. You'll just come in, you have a great time. There's an elevator. I always like to find theater spaces so it's wheelchair accessible.
Okay, good.
So there's an elevator, you come into the space, it's no problem. You'll just really have a good time with this piece. It's different.
Wonderful. You're watching the Nourish Spot Hour on Caribbean Buzz Radio. I'm Dawn Kelly, CEO of the Nourish Spot, and today I have with me Sharnae Jenkins, writer, director, and producer, Jessica Johnson, CEO of Johnson Security. If you'd like to call in and ask questions, you may dial 607-301-0962. That's 607-301-0962. So, Jessica, let me throw the questions back to you for a second about entrepreneurship in general. Tell me, why entrepreneurship?
Well, because entrepreneurship gives you the opportunity to write your own future, right? So often, particularly in our communities, we're not taught that there are different paths. Not many of us can point to the entrepreneurs that we knew in our neighborhoods. Because before integration, we didn't have the opportunity to go outside the neighborhood to get things that we needed. We provided for ourselves. And so in entrepreneurship, we're problem solvers. We're solving the problems that we have on our own, and then we're meeting the needs of others once we identify what those problems are. So that's why entrepreneurship. And when we look at what's happening in the economy, here in the United States, the number of jobs is decreasing. The quality of the education is decreasing. The disparity in incomes is increasing at alarming amounts. And so as an entrepreneur, it gives you a tool or vehicle to better position yourself, your family, and your community for financial success. I work with a large multinational company, and they invest a lot of money in developing women entrepreneurs across the globe. And what they found is that women are more likely to take the proceeds from their businesses and invest in their families and communities than men. So I think the statistics are somewhere between 70 and 80% of what we have left over. We as women entrepreneurs invest in our families and in our communities. And when we talk about neighborhoods like Southside Jamaica, right? When we talk about neighborhoods like the South Bronx, when we talk about Harlem, the ungentrified or less gentrified Harlem, right? There's space for us to improve, but nobody's going to give us the money, nobody's going to give us the opportunity. So as entrepreneurs, we can go out and claim those opportunities and create the economic development that we need.
You're absolutely right. And just like you said, no one's going to give us the money. I established the Nourish Spot with my own funds. Not one bank, not one loan. I did it myself. So I'm going to ask you the same question. You know, I know you're an artisan, right? But it's still entrepreneurism because you're using your own funds, you're using your own time. So I want to know, why did you choose entrepreneurism? You could have went and gone and been a social worker. And you chose not to, so why?
Well, first and foremost for me, it was definitely about making a difference for young people because I was exposed early and there's a lot that I didn't do. And so as I looked around and I saw, I think the train ride just really got me. And I knew, like, okay, there are a lot of young people who are not exposed to a lot of things. So how can I expose them? And that's with everything. That's behind the scenes. You need to learn the business side. I mean, when I first started doing this with the teens, I had a young lady. She was 15 years old, but she was a computer genius. And she became my assistant right away. She built my webpage. She managed everything. She contacted people. Hey, I mean, she's absolutely amazing. So,
and just imagine how that made her feel.
I mean,
right?
it's incredible. Right. So it was one of those. Okay, I'm growing and I'm nurturing them because you need future leaders. And then I'm using the gift that God gave to me to be able to help, but then also as another mentor of mine, Bob Law, he would tell me all the time.
You know,
yeah, because I was part of Respect Each Other Youth Choir when I was my whole time in middle school and high school with Bob Law, and so that just giving back to the community was a big thing for me. He was like, but you have to eat. So he was like, keep doing what you're doing, but you have to eat, so figure it out. And so I know that doing it myself and finding ways to build and make the money, I can give back, I can put back into my business, I can make a difference, and just it's almost like a wheel, just keep the wheel going, but obviously you need the funds to do that, and you have to know your worth.
Right.
And so I know my worth, so it's like I can do both at the same time. Some people are afraid to be entrepreneurs, but if you have something great, then you go for it and you take that chance because you don't know what you can develop that into.
It's true.
Okay?
It's
so
true.
I grow something, I bring young people in, now they're growing something, and we keep going and going and going.
And
Can I add something?
yes, because she said something.
Sharnae mentioned exposure.
Yes.
When you think about Black business people, right? in our communities in the past, there was a bad stigma, a bad perception about a black person in business. Because so often we didn't, right? So if you thought about who were the neighborhood businesses, you were thinking hustlers.
True.
The
Right.
person that was
right.
running the
That's
numbers,
right.
or somebody that was cooking food out
Coming in
there.
the salon with the stuff.
Exactly,
Yeah.
selling the bootleg DVDs.
Right, you're absolutely right.
And not that there weren't legitimate businesses, but the conversation around entrepreneurship was not there.
It was
Right.
different.
And so
Right.
the way that many young people grew up thinking about being in business for themselves is like, nah, let me go to the post office always hiring, they got benefits, or let me give me good government
Right.
jobs.
It's true. It's true. She's telling
And
the
so, and
truth.
so now it's cool to be an entrepreneur in some circles.
That's right.
And then folks are like, you know, and so the people that came up in the rank with those good government jobs, with the benefits, not hating,
Right.
you know, they don't understand the pivot that's required.
It's
That is so
Preach!
So we really need to, I'm humbled to have the opportunity to be here to talk with you about entrepreneurship, because hopefully somebody out there will hear our stories and say,
And
well,
go
I
for
can
it.
do that myself, so.
Yes, yes, and I will tell you, you know, that's why I'm really, really thankful to my engineer, Nigel, because Nigel is the one that actually encouraged me to start this radio program.
Nice.
I was actually a guest on somebody else's show and told my story about how the Nourish Part was
Yes.
born. And after it was all over, Nigel came up to me and said, you need your own show and you need to tell people about what you're doing. And so at first, I'll be honest, I wasn't sure that I would be able to do it, you know. But like you mentioned earlier, sometimes when you jump into one thing, the opportunities that, you know, germinate from that one thing, they just become, you know,
Absolutely.
it's just amazing.
Absolutely.
You know, and so one thing I would like to announce, and I'm going to ask you guys if you have any good news that you want to announce today before I ask you the most important question. One thing that I want to announce is this week, the Nourish Spot actually had the opportunity to pitch before 1010 Wins in Manhattan against 9 other small businesses. We were named as one of the finalists in the 1010 Wins Small Business $10,000 Challenge Grant. Now, we didn't win, but that's okay.
No, you did.
Right,
You
were
did
there,
win. You
okay?
didn't win the money, but
I was
you
in the
won.
room,
That's
yes,
right.
yes. And so
Good.
I definitely had to remind myself, and my mother made sure she reminded me. She said, no, you didn't lose. You were in the room.
That's right.
So
That's
you won,
right. That's right.
okay? You may not have walked away with the money, but you were
in
in the room. I did walk away with a big finalist plaque that I got hanging up in the Nourish Spot. And I walked away with 9 more friends, right?
See?
Okay? And also the courage to do it again, right? Because that was the first time I've ever done anything like that. And now I know what it's like to have 90 seconds to pitch your business to people that don't know anything about you. So, you know, maybe we will, in the next couple of months, get together and do a panel and have some young women and men sitting in front of us asking us how,
Absolutely.
okay? And we can
Yes.
teach them how we do these things, right? So, I'm not sure what the time is, but I want to kind of wrap us up with a really important question. And I'm going to go to you first, Jessica. What do you do to nourish yourself? Because you're a busy lady, right? You told us all that important stuff that you're doing and all those important people that you're keeping safe, okay? And all those young and seasoned employees that you're taking care of and making sure that they have livelihoods and take care of their families. So how are you taking care of yourself?
Well, you know the Bible talks about being ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And as I move into a new season, I've been more intentional about my thinking and learning how to think better. And so I've been nourishing myself by reading, by listening to different podcasts, and by having very intentional conversations with the people within my network. Because earlier in the year, I was like, I want to grow my network. And when I sat down and counted the cost, I saw that I had tremendous value in my network already that I wasn't tapping into. And one of my favorite parables is the parable of the talents. The one that had the 5 went and got 5 more, the one that had the 2 went and got 2 more, and the lazy one buried his 1. Well, I want to be like the slave that had the 5 talents. And I want to double and exponentially grow my talents. And so by thinking and pouring into my brain and thinking about how I think, that's how I've been nourishing myself lately. And I've noticed a significant difference in how I carry myself through the day and how I interact with others and the results that I've been getting.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. And Sharnae, how about you? How do you nourish yourself? Because you nourish a whole lot of others.
I know, all the time, and
Yes.
so I have to take a couple minutes
Yeah.
for myself, so I do that. I take a couple of minutes and I sit still, because that's important, and we don't, and I don't sit still. And it doesn't matter where I'm at, car, whatever, but I sit still, and I actually just look back at journals that I have, and I look at things that I've written, whether I felt a particular way, or what I thought I should be, whatever it was, I just look back at how I felt before, because then I tap into how I feel right now. And it's not a comparison or to say, hey, you haven't done this or that. It's just refreshing to me. It's just like, oh, wow, really, I said that? Oh, okay, that's cool. And I just really stay in silence. That's how I do it, because I clear my head to get up, to get ready, to do what I have to do for the day. I mean, you're writing several things at one time. You have to be different places,
Right.
mentally, spiritually, depending on where you have to be. So I have to go there, and I really go into a zone, and I take myself there, and then I have to bring myself back out. So I have to go silent, just a couple minutes a day. And it feels amazing. And another way I do it is that I just speak to the people that I love. Like, that's a big for me. That is big for me. And then I feel great, and I'm good.
Well, good. And you know what? Something came to me, and I'm an obedient soul. So I heard a voice say, what's the one question you wish somebody would ask you that they never asked? Same thing, Sharnae. What's the one question that you wish people would ask you that they never asked?
That's a great question. One person I said you never asked.
What's your favorite fruit?
My favorite fruit is Asian pears.
Oh, Asian pear. What's your favorite fruit?
Strawberry.
Okay, we got those. You can come to the Nourish Spot and get you some strawberries. I don't know what I'm gonna do with Sharnae. I don't think we have any Asian pears at the Nourish Spot. Listen, you've been listening to the Nourish Spot Hour. I'm Dawn Kelly, host of the Nourish Spot Hour and CEO of the Nourish Spot, located at 10705 Guy R. Brewer Boulevard. I feel so wonderful and so empowered by having the opportunity to bring women to this podcast to talk to you about their variety of entrepreneurial ventures. Today we have Sharnae Jenkins, writer, director, producer, extraordinaire. I'm coming to see you because I got some journals too. Anyway.
Yeah, some people how to get
Yeah. And, oh yeah, look, how do you get the tickets?
You just go on to theaterinmotion.com, and right at the top there's a buy tickets button. You click. It's just that simple. You take your name on our register sheet, and you just come to the door, and that's it.
And again, tell us one more time if people want to get in touch with you because they've been hiding a manuscript or they've been hiding a film script and they just got some ideas and they just need somebody to mentor them.
Yes.
How do they contact you?
You can email me at theatermotivates@gmail.com, and that's spelled ER because theater is spelled two ways, so it's theatermotivates@gmail.com. You can also, I think it's DM me on my IG at Sharnae J6802. And for tickets, it's theaterinmotion.com is the website.
Thank you so much, Sharnae. And Jessica, now you know, I got a goddaughter who wants to be some security something, I don't know. And I think you and I are talking about this, but I'm sure she's not the only one. So if people are interested in working with Johnson Security, how do they get in touch with you and your company?
They can go to our website at www.johnsonsecuritybureau.com, or they can check out our Instagram account, and I'd be lying because I can't tell you what the top of my right now. But I'm on Instagram at Jessica Johnson Coach, COPE.
All right, don't worry, we'll add it to the bottom of the promo that we do. So I just want to thank you ladies very much. I know the time goes quickly because we had so much to talk about.
That is great.
But you can follow the Nourish Spot at the Nourish Spot. That's TheNourishSpot. You can visit us at 10705 Guy R. Brewer Boulevard, Jamaica, Queens. We're open today till 7, Monday through Friday till 7. And oh, I forgot. It's Summer Sundays. So, last Sunday, we decided to open up for the first Sunday from 12 to 6, and we'll be open every Sunday from noon to 6 until Labor Day. So come on by, we got the protein waffles for you, and some really good, freezy, cold smoothies that you can create on your own.
Contest that I need to win.
Oh, and one more thing. My partner just told me, you know, the Nourish spot has sees a whole lot of men. Did y'all know that? You married. But the Nourish spot, we've noticed a lot of guys come there, okay? And we're trying to figure it out. Like, why is it that it's more men than women that are coming into the Nourish spot to be fed and to be nourished? And so, me and my partner, we got a bet going on, and I'm winning right now. I'm winning. So I need you guys to keep on coming, all right?
Ladies.
Thank you very much. See you again next Saturday. Thank you very much. This is the Nourish Spot Hour.